Hey, New Hope in Loudonville. My name is Tim Broughton. I'm the lead pastor at New Hope in Worcester. And I just wanted to say congratulations on celebrating 20 years. That's crazy to think about. It's been that long. I joined the New Hope staff back in 2006 as the worship pastor. And I helped launch New Hope Worcester. And now I'm the lead pastor up here. And we also, during that season, we launched Ashland, which later on became Cross Connect Church through many different transitions. And Worcester, we launched a church up in northwestern Wayne County called Northwinds Church now, and it's its own church. And it's crazy to think about all the multiplication that's happened over the years because of New Hope in Loudonville. So thank you for being there. Thank you for being a part of our story. Now, I just want to say congratulations to everybody there. I want to say congratulations to Pastor Rob and Bethany and all the staff and the elders and the leaders there and all of you who are part of the church. Congratulations on getting to this milestone of 20 years to celebrate. So we pray that God blesses you all the more and that you see God's faithfulness and work in your lives personally, in the life of the church, and that God would use you to do more and more things for his kingdom's sake. God bless and congrats from us here at New Hope in Worcester. Blessings.
Hello, New Hope. We are so proud. 20 years. Unbelievable. But we're glad that we were able to be a part of it. We miss you all here in South Carolina. We miss and love you all.
I remember the day the doors opened. And there was standing room only. They were standing outside the church, down the aisles, back in the foyer. And we're so blessed to know that you're still there. God bless y'all and have a wonderful, wonderful celebration.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, New Hope. My name is Jeff Self, and I was a children's pastor at New Hope back in the day. And I just want to say congratulations on 20 years of faithful ministry. I am grateful for the time that my wife and I got to be a part of New Hope. Even though we had just shown up when Sarah got pregnant with our first child, we were embraced as family. We were taken care of. The church threw us a baby shower. People showed up to our home when we were out of town, and they remodeled our apartment and our nursery. So many people showed up when our first son was born at the hospital just to visit us and to show us love. And that's one thing that I really appreciated about New Hope. It didn't really matter how long you were there. You were immediately a part of the family. And so that's what I want to say. Keep doing. Keep embracing people. Keep making way for new people. Keep letting people know that they're family no matter how long they've been around. And that's how we get them to stay. So thank you for being a part of my life.
Hey, New Hope, I am so excited to be here, and I was jazzed when I heard it was your 20th birthday. This is a big deal, and for those of you that don't know me, I'm Tommy. I'm the lead pastor of Cross Connect Church on the outside of Loudonville, and I just want to say not only happy birthday, but you need to know that not only would our church not exist if it wasn't for New Hope and all of the amazing people that are a part of its body and family, but I wouldn't even be a pastor if it wasn't for this church and what I experienced back in 2004 on a Saturday night service right in that room, and for your extremely pushy pastor. So a lot's happening. I'm proud of you. I'm thankful to be a part of your family. Happy birthday, New Hope.
Hey, New Hope Church. Congratulations, 20 years. What an amazing thing to hear about. My name is Aaron Gross, and I used to work there. I was the student ministries pastor many, many years ago, and I had such an incredible time serving within that community, being a part of that community. You all were like family to my wife and I and my young family at the time. And I just want to say thank you. Your community has left such an impression on my heart. I think one of the things that comes to mind that was impactful in my own walk with Jesus and my professional life was experiencing the movement of God of New Hope Church. I remember being at baptism events down at the river, and there would be 30, 40, 50, I don't know, maybe 100. I'm probably making up numbers now, but I just know that it was packed. People gave their lives to Jesus and wanted to be baptized. It wasn't just church growth where people wanted to just switch churches to the next better one or the new shiny toy. It was people surrendering their lives to Jesus and being a part of that movement and what God was doing. And I know God is still doing a beautiful work in and through your community. Man, what an incredible opportunity. It not only impacted my life then, but it has given me vision as I now lead church in my own context. So thank you for that, and congratulations once more.
Wow, 20 years that you're celebrating there at New Hope Community Church. I just want to say that it was a pleasure for me to be able to come back to my hometown and be there for a couple years and to plant New Hope Worcester. One of the stories, things that I remember when I was at New Hope was when we got called that there was a baby that was just born that wasn't doing well, and that the family would like somebody to come up and pray. And I went up and I prayed with Jenny Brown's daughter and the little baby. And I remember something. They weren't giving the baby a chance to live. I remember as we were praying, there was this swiftness. And after I said amen, we all kind of looked at each other and said, "Did you feel that and see that?" And that baby's still alive, and part of that church, and was baptized a few years ago. God is doing amazing things through that church, through His power. And I'm just glad that we are able to be a part of it. We love you guys, and we send our love from South Carolina. And you know, a cool thing, I serve as a weekend minister in Manning, South Carolina. And in December, another church hired Aaron Gross, who used to be a youth minister there, and he is a campus pastor in Manning, South Carolina. We're both back together and started together in Loudonville, and now ministering in South Carolina. We love you guys, and are just wishing you a happy 20th anniversary.
Hey New Hope, Pastor Dan here from the great state of Maine, wishing you a very happy birthday. 20 years, hard to believe. Man, so many good memories back there. I remember playing Buddy Huff playing pedal steel on stage in worship. I remember one time he walks into my office and he has a raccoon sitting on his shoulder, and I remember thinking that there was nothing strange about that if you knew Buddy. I remember having a planning meeting, a production meeting with Charles Hill one time, where he was planning to bring in a live bear as a prop for an illustration and a sermon. And in the back of my head, just thinking, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea. I remember shooting videos with Jess Peacock up in Cleveland and down there in Loudonville. I remember playing at the Loudonville Fair. So many good memories, and I'm just so excited that you all are celebrating 20 years. And my prayer for you is that God would continue to bless you and keep you and make His face to shine upon you, and that you'll see another great 20 years of ministry up there in North Central Ohio. Many blessings to you, and happy birthday.
Happy 20 years, New Hope. It's so exciting to be here. Just filming in with you real quick. My name's Kevin Rush. If you don't know me, God interweaved my path with New Hope multiple times. From the beginning, when I heard there was crazy people just like me who wanted to reach people far from God, and they were doing crazy stuff like renovating a building and ripping out the pews and putting in chairs, and from coming on full staff as an intern and then as a staff as helping plant campuses, to then even being sent out to plant churches. New Hope, you have a rich history of caring about the outsider, of reaching out to those who are far from God, to offer them hope. Some of the greatest stories I even heard were, people finding hope in a mailer and coming to the church, to having to be walking by and realizing there's something going on there, to having people who've never thought about going to church start to go to church again. People who are hurt by the church come back again. And so it's that legacy that you guys carry on. Again, happy anniversary. I wore this shirt to celebrate my favorite Canadian, Rob Patterson. But that's not saying much, Rob, because you're pretty much the only Canadian friend I have.
Congratulations, New Hope, on 20 years. Jeremy Gessner called and asked me to do a miracle. Just shoot a video about 3 minutes long. And I went, what, Jeremy? 3 minutes? Jeremy, I can't even walk to the stage in 3 minutes, bud. So some of you get that. But congratulations on 20 years. My wife and I, my beautiful wife of 27 years, Tiffany, we've been talking about this a little bit. We've been choking up some over the last couple weeks, sharing stories about people. But we wanted to start a place that every time you drive in the church, I think it's still there. At the bottom of the sign, it says, "Come as you are, leave different." We wanted to be a place that no matter what what your background was, what your beliefs or lack thereof was, who you look like, what part of the tracks you came from, what your family history was. We wanted to be a place of radical love, that when you walked through the doors, you felt that love. Come as you are, leave different. And you know what? I can honestly say that in the years that I spent there, that is what New Hope Community Church developed a reputation for. We truly were a place, and still are, from all the wonderful stories that I continue to hear, that people can come and feel loved, and a place where they can start again, and a place that when things are darkest in their life, they can truly find light. And that's what we wanted to do. And that's what happened. From my family to you, congratulations on 20 years. We miss you. Most importantly, we love you. Keep being a place of hope and a place of love that brings life and healing and change at a time that we need it desperately. Love you. Congratulations.
Today, all I want to do is share 10 of my favorite memories from my now 11 plus years here at New Hope. So here we go. Here's number 10. Number 10 has to do with prayer. And actually, as a church, I know we have some people who are prayer warriors, who pray, who love to pray. But as a church, prayer's not really our strong suit. We've done events where we've invited people to come pray. Not many people typically come pray. It's a little bit embarrassing sometimes. And so what do you do when something isn't normal or natural or a strength? You create opportunities, right? And so I remember we did a series that was around Mark Batterson's book, The Circle Maker. And we actually, over here on this side wall, had a giant map that we covered with plexiglass. And we asked people to go up there throughout this month and circle where they lived, where they worked, and where they prayed, and we encouraged everybody to pray circles around those three domains in your life. And then we did a prayer walk as part of that. We did a service down at the park as part of that. And the last Sunday, we sent people off to circle in prayer. So cool. Twice since I've been here, we actually have done 24 hours of prayer where we made sure people had signed up and were here in the space, and we set the whole building up as a prayer space, and people could go to different stations and pray. And the cool thing about that, the 2 times we've done it since I've been here, are that I remember, and I still hear people talk about how much it impacted them, because here's what everybody thinks. You want me to sign up to pray for an hour? I could never pray for an hour. And then every person who thought or said that at the end of their hour said, oh my gosh, I could have prayed for even more, right? So what a cool experience, right? To think that many of us would, and then to have that experience. And I still hear from people to this day who said, during that, God said this to me, right? And they're still living life with sort of some of that hope and encouragement from those things. I think in 2023, we're going to have another 24 hours of prayer because it's past time. All right, number 9, we have done some cool elements as part of our gatherings here at New Hope. This is kind of like one of our things. And we've had a long history of having people, part of our church, who helped make that happen. Pastor Jeff, super creative guy, Jeff Cooper, who passed away, was always great at that. Pastor Jeremy does so much creative stuff. Allison Haggerty, like forever, Allison was the one who spearheaded all the incredible environments and sets and all that kind of stuff that spoke to people and helped them see Jesus. And currently, Sandy Stanton is our creative person and set person. We had a boxing ring here last week, and now we have something totally different for a series starting next week called The Beginning, The End, and Everything in Between. So I'm not going to tell you anymore, but we've done a lot of cool things. I remember a number of years ago, some of you remember this, for our Christmas gatherings, we did this closing song that was really cool, and at the very end, like, somebody randomly stood and started singing, and then someone else stood, and it became this whole big thing, and they all came forward. That's one of my favorite things. But one of my best ones, Jeremy, you remember, we were in a planning meeting, and Pastor Jeff said, hey, there's this Norwegian comedy duo, and their name is Ylvis, and they did this song kind of as a spoof, but it took off. And it was called The Fox, or many of us know it much better as What Does the Fox Say? And it was right around then that the Ohio State Marching Band actually did that for a halftime show. And so in this meeting, Jeff's showing us all this stuff. We're like, this is cool. In that year for Christmas, we rewrote it to What Does the Star Say? And recorded a music video. That was a super fun element. I just love those kind of things. So that's number 9. Number 8, and it's hard to pick just a series over more than 11 years. I think of our One Hit Wonder series, which was so fun, encouraging us not just to do well occasionally, but to be consistent in our faithfulness, right? And so we told stories of bands who wrote one-hit wonders, and our band played a one-hit wonder every week of that series. I remember a Christmas series we did spoofing off of the TV show Breaking Bad. We called it Breaking Good. We did a Game of Thrones Christmas series. I really love the Man Card series. That was fun, where we were sitting up here. We gave all the guys man cards that were awesome, but we were sitting up here on some cool stools with like a fridge that looked like an amp, and we kept drinking root beers as we talked that series. I remember the one week where we pretended like I had ridden my motorcycle over but got carried away riding it, so I was late, and then I drove it on stage. Lots and lots and lots of cool things. So I want to hit just one here. We did a series, I think it was in 2011, called Fences. And we talked about how some things are written in pencil, some things are written in ink, and some things are written in blood. And in the church, we get into trouble when we confuse the two. And so that was kind of the big idea of the series. And then I think the last week of the series, we talked about this idea of infantilism, when full-grown adults behave like little kids. And how we hate when we see full-grown adults behave in childish ways in our world. But for many of us, we let ourselves off the hook when we should be more spiritually mature, but we still act as spiritual infants. And so to stress that, some of you will remember this message on spiritual maturity. Rod Edmondson built a giant high chair. We showed a video that we found on PBS about infantilism, where this full-grown adult guy who had a regular job was actually going to Lowe's to buy lumber to build a full-blown crib for him to sleep in, right? It was this really weird thing. I had a guy after say to me, I told my wife, if Pastor Rob comes out on stage today in a diaper, I'm out of here. And I remember sitting in that giant high chair preaching the sermon, and at one point I pretended like I was just too tired to finish. And Bethany came up and put a milk crate down and stood on it and fed me baby food, and I got a second wind, and I was able to continue. And you know, the amazing thing about that is at the time we would actually record and burn all of our series to DVDs and sell them. It was before everybody used the internet like we do now. And it was the most downloaded, purchased, and requested series ever. It was also the one I had someone tell me as they were sharing how terrible of a preacher I was with me, tell me, go listen to this series because it was the worst I've ever heard, and it was also everybody else's favorite. So I thought that was interesting. So that's number 8. Number 7, I want to give one more engaging series, and maybe it's my favorite series we've ever done. It was another Christmas series called The Dark Side of Christmas. And I loved that series, not only because we talked about this time of year that seems really cheery and happy has a dark side, right? There's some negative. If you've lost somebody, if you can't afford presents, there's a lot of reasons why Christmas has a dark side. But we leaned into that. A new Star Wars movie was being released that year. We had a great series graphic, and Darth Vader showed up every week, like full-fledged Darth Vader with a lightsaber. It was awesome. Now, the problem was, as we were planning for this series, we had champagne tastes, but a beer budget. Okay? And so I still remember Pastor Jeremy came to a staff meeting and he's like, hey, I found this costume at Walmart or whatever. And it was literally like, no, we can't do this. Because it was like what your 2-year-old would wear and you would still know it was your 2-year-old. We couldn't do that. But we couldn't afford, like a Darth Vader costume was $800. And a lightsaber, like a legit lightsaber, was like a couple $100. And somebody donated $1,000 so we could buy those things. Every week Darth Vader came out. We actually had a dialogue. Pastor Jeremy and I wrote the scripts for these, and we only had so many lines we had with Darth Vader's thing, right? So we had to like write it around what we had. And over the course of the month, as Darth Vader would help me light the Advent candles every week on the wreath, he kind of went from being not at all open to God and faith to being really open to God and faith. And that year, for all of our Christmas gatherings, Darth Vader was up in that end of the building, and so families and kids could get pictures, not with Santa, but with Darth Vader here at New Hope. I loved that series. And this year, Darth Vader is going to make an appearance at the fair, and he's going to hand out invites for this month's series. So if you see Darth Vader, you'll know he's a New Hoper now. All right, number six. One of my favorite memories from our church was yesterday. I know, like, this is good too, right? Because if all I'm doing is telling you guys things that happened 5 and 10 years ago, you might go, he doesn't really like what we do now, right? So yesterday's a good thing. Now, I had a wedding yesterday, so I was oblivious to this. Bethany and I got home from the wedding I officiated about 9 o'clock last night, and it was interesting because Christopher said, hey, you know we're meeting inside tomorrow now. And I said, no, we're not. He said, no, we are. And apparently when the band was practicing and doing some sound stuff yesterday afternoon about 3, there was some neighbors that were giving some highly technical hand motions to let us know how unhappy they were. And then a number of them called the police, who showed up and had a conversation. And the police were awesome. They were kind of on our side. They're like, you know what? It's like, there's absolutely no reason you guys can't do this. And like, what are they going to do next week with the fair, right? Are they going to call every time a band's playing downtown, right? Like, it was good. And when I heard about this, can I just be honest? I was not happy. I thought some things that you're not going to hear me say today, okay? But even though I was like totally out, some team members made the decision that we would meet inside instead of outside based on our mission, right? Because we spent a whole month, this whole last month talking about this. I was mad because I'm like, are we going to have space for everybody? We've already told everybody to bring their chairs, and we actually had a crew of people show up here at 6:30 this morning to set chairs up for you guys to sit in today inside in order to make this happen. And even though I wasn't the one making the decision yesterday, I hope that I would have done the same, because none of what we do is about being right, but it's about sharing and showing the love of Jesus to other people. And listen, church, I just want you to know this, and if this bugs you, you can go to a different church. But no, I'm serious. I will inconvenience us every single day of the week if that's what it takes to help someone far from God see and know him clearly. All right? All right, number 5 and number 4 kind of go together, and they're money related. So this year, just at the start of the summer, actually, we retired all of our debt. In 2016, we had $1.1 million in mortgage debt, facility debt. And now in 2022, we are debt-free. And we said this, right? We wanted to retire our debt to empower more ministry. And you know what? If you are generous and you give to New Hope Community Church, more of every dollar goes directly to ministry and changing people's lives than ever before in the history of our church. And I love that. I love that. So we've done part 1. We've retired our debt, but we're still sort of waiting to see if we are going to leverage this in order to do more ministry, or if we're just going to be happy being debt-free. And I just want you guys to hear from me. I am not happy being debt-free. That all by itself is never a goal, right? Like, we want to be debt-free so that we can make a bigger difference for Jesus. And that means for all of us, what does our generosity look like? And number 2, as leaders, are we making faith-filled decisions that move the needle and reach people for Jesus? We've got to keep doing that. So that's a money one. Let me give you one more money one. Number 4, our 10th anniversary. So 10 years ago, we did a special offering. Some of you were here. Some of you remember this. And we said we're going to give half of it to the district church planting fund, because I just believed that New Hope wouldn't exist in the same way that it does if we didn't have people in churches give money and support us as we were starting, right? And so we wanted to sort of pay that back, and we were going to encumber half of that special offering for whatever our next church planting project was. Well, we were coming out of a summertime. We had summer giving. Giving was terrible. And there were a lot of people who said, Rob, why don't we take, like, maybe, I don't know, even we do a third to the church planting thing and a third to whatever we're doing next. And maybe we just give a third to us to sort of help us out. Why? You know, people were like saying that. And I really just felt like we needed to do this. And for that 10th anniversary, we had a little church building here. We got a Hobby Lobby. Probably Bethany painted it. And that weekend, we had $22,000 come in the special offering. And then in just the regular offering, we had $18,000 come in. It was a $40,000 weekend, the most significant weekend giving-wise in the history of our church. Amen, yeah. And let me just say this, because I believe this: generosity begets generosity. If you want to be generous, and it will build on itself. So good. Hey, before I tell you the top 3, and they're the best, there's somebody with us today who is here the very first week and who's been such a great friend and brother to me, and such a great friend to New Hope Community Church. Dan Peterson, will you come up on stage? Whose mic am I using? And Dan's connected to those two that I shared too, because Dan, he came over, he helped our team get ready for the capital campaign. Dan, we probably wouldn't have thought about the district church planning fund had you not been such an important person. Dan, for 30 plus years, right, was the district executive minister over Converge Mid-Atlantic and has lived not too far. And Dan, I just love doing life in ministry with you, brother.
Thank you so much, Rob, and happy birthday, happy anniversary, New Hope. What a privilege to be here and to join with you. A couple of stories real fast. I remember Charles Hill coming to me 100 years ago, not quite, and telling me he wanted to plant a church in Loudonville. And I told him no. I said, why not Columbus? Why not Ashland? Why not someplace else? But let's not plant a church in Loudonville. He was looking for some funding from Converge. And I said, I don't think that's a good idea. We showed up first Sunday, standing room only, opened up more seats, second Sunday with a second service. Later on, the third service was added. You know what? I came away from those experiences knowing that God planted New Hope here in Loudonville. God planted this church. Then I saw a season where he had left, he had gone, and there was this guy, Jeff Cooper, who served so faithfully here at New Hope. And I saw God sustain New Hope through the ministry of Jeff and many others. Then there was a season when there was a group of leaders, a pastoral search team that was looking for the next lead pastor of New Hope. And they did, and I was working with them, trying to encourage them and help them along. They did a national search, and we're looking all around the country for the right leader to come and serve at New Hope. And they landed on this Canadian couple, or guy, who was serving in Michigan. Go think about that.
I was a missionary, Dan.
Yeah, he was a missionary in Michigan. And they were convinced that this family was the people that God would have come and serve New Hope. And they reached out, and they got a pretty bad response message from this family. They said, we're not available right now. And I remember driving out here from my home in a place in Ontario to meet with the pastoral search committee. And I was trying to think about how I would encourage that group. And I walked in the door, and the door to the conference room there, Rob, was closed. And I knocked on the door, and nobody answered, so I just pushed the door open. And when I walked in, the whole group, some of them were on their knees, the whole group was praying. They were praying. That night, I met with them. And you know who came away encouraged from that meeting? I came away encouraged because I saw the faith and the confidence that God would send this couple from Canada up in Michigan, would send them to New Hope in His time. And I had some other names that I was going to give to them and all of that. But you know what? I came away from that experience knowing that God sent Rob and Bethany Patterson to lead New Hope Church. There was no doubt in my mind, and here they are continuing to serve. Folks, God has continued to do a ministry through your pastor and through this church, and I am so proud of what God continues to do. And I know that the best days and years and months lie ahead. I think of Paul's words in 1 Thessalonians. I always thank my God for you and always remember you in my prayers. I thank God for your work produced by faith, your labor prompted by love, and your hope inspired by confidence in the Lord Jesus Christ. Faith, hope, and love. That's what I think about when I think about New Hope.
Amen.
God bless you guys. I love you all. And thank God for it.
Thanks, Dan. Love you, man.
Yeah.
Cool. And Dan, I know Dan doesn't want me to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Dan, when he came to help us with the capital campaign, he said, you guys don't have to pay me a penny for my time, but what if you tithe whatever comes into the church planting fund so we can plant more churches, which we happily agreed to. And he and Sandy also gave a donation toward us paying off our debt. So again, just incredible people. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And Jeremy, none of what Dan said impacts my 10 minutes. So I know, hey, enough said. Number 3 is people. People is really like one of my favorite things. This is true of our team. I think of Jeremy and Shelly and Bud. I mean, just some of the most faithful, awesome, hardworking, loyal people on the planet. The rest of our staff, just all incredible. Our leaders here at New Hope, our elders, just some people that I just feel honored and privileged to do life with. Listen, when I say people, I really mean all of you. Man, I just love you guys. And when I say people, I mean people who are here and still here. I mean people who were here that aren't here anymore. But man, we shared life and we did things together for Jesus. And when I think of you, I still think of you fondly. And I think of people, quite frankly, who are gone, right? I mean, by gone, I mean they've gone on to heaven. And honestly, the older I get and the longer I'm here, the more I sort of think about that with a little bit of sadness, because I love you guys and I love that we get to share life. And I don't like the idea that some of you are going to go see Jesus before me. So I'm just saying that. Tom Thiem would always tell me, he worked for Zondervan, and he'd say, I'd go out to Saddleback and be with Rick Warren, or I'd go to Willow Creek, and he would always tell me, Rob, they have nothing on us here at New Hope. The level of talent and the kind of hearts we see in a tiny little town in the middle of nowhere, Ohio, God has blessed us, right? And so here's the thing. If left to my own devices, that would be my number one, because I'm a people person, and I would say people. But let me give you the top 2, because some of you are thinking, Rob, I don't get what ministry and serving Jesus and fun have anything to do with each other. Rob, this is serious stuff after all, and fun is way too small a word and way too cheap of a word to use in connection to ministry. So I look to the scriptures. You guys remember, anyone else as a kid sing this little song from a verse? This is the day, right? Remember that the Lord has made, and so we will rejoice and be glad in it. Right? That's what we're doing today, by the way. We're rejoicing in being glad in what God has done. Well, this verse actually comes from Psalm 118, and I want to read just a couple verses, just a few sentences here to help us see what the broader context is. Why would we be excited about a day, and why would we want to celebrate or rejoice? So listen to these words. I give thanks to you for answering me. You have become my salvation. This is what the psalmist is saying. The stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. The Lord has done this, and it is marvelous in our eyes. The Lord has done it this very day, right? This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice today and be glad. And then here's the last sentence. Lord, save us. Lord, grant us success. Here would be my argument. My argument is that nothing is more enjoyable and worthy of celebration than God's work in a person's life. Right? That is like the pinnacle. And this has happened, this is happening, and this will continue to happen here at New Hope Community Church in Loudonville, Ohio. So with that in mind, number 2, as I continue my countdown, is baptisms. We have seen hundreds, maybe more than 1,000 people baptized over these last 20 years. And all of those baptisms caused celebration in heaven, right? But my two favorite, my first one was the very first year I was here, 2011, August, at Pleasant Hill Outdoor Camp. And at the time, my just turned 6-year-old son, Christopher, said, "Mom and Dad, I want to get baptized." And so Bethany and I were able to baptize Christopher. He actually got baptized later when his faith became more his own. And then this year, and I've been bugging Liam for years, "Buddy, are you ready? Is this a step you think you should take?" And he's like, This year, Liam's like, "I want to get baptized." We didn't talk to him about it. He is the one that talked to us. And just a few days before this, I got COVID. And so Liam's like, "I want my dad and my brother to baptize me." And you know what? When I was diagnosed on Wednesday, when my test came back positive, someone said, "Well, are we just going to postpone? Because, Rob, a lot of people like for you to be the one that baptizes them." And I said, "This church, this is not about me." Right? Like, this is about what God is up to. But when my kid said, "I want my dad to baptize me," I wouldn't have missed that for the world. And so I was planning to sneak down anyway and sort of watch through the trees, but I kind of snuck down and walked up the river and baptized Liam, and then walked 20 yards down the river and just watched the rest sort of in quiet support. Listen, this idea of we've only just begun, what this means, this we, is you can be a part of this, right? If you want to, you're welcome to be a part of God's work here. You're included, but listen, none of us are required. Not even me. This is really about what God is doing through his people who choose to say, "This is where I want to worship and this is where I want to work," so more people can know about Jesus. And then number one, because baptisms are cool, but you know what's better than baptisms? Salvations. Right? That's my number one. And it's really the point of the passage, right? It's the reason for rejoicing. It's the reason for festivities and celebration. In church, thousands of people over the last 20 years have made decisions to follow Jesus here at New Hope Community Church. Multiplication is awesome. New churches are awesome. You heard some of that talk from other people. But you know what? It really boils down to and is all about people and their lives being changed. And we've seen that. People who've gone from, "I'm not even aware of God," to, "I'm a little bit aware of God," to, "I've embraced Jesus as my Savior," to, "Jesus is Lord of my life."